Thank you so much. Well, the transformation of NFTs from creative assets to financial instruments, I think there could be no more a title more boring than this. So let's juice it up a little bit and call it "Who the fuck is doing what the fuck with NFTs?" This question feels about right to me right now, but kill your expectations. I'm not going to go through projects, discuss who's launching what, or talk with you about the Azuki elementals. I'm not going to give you an anthropological, historical context of NFTs either, and not dive into art blocks, punks, apes, Murat Pak, Sotheby's auctions. I would like to dive into a different path. I would like to look at NFTs as the cultural layer of Web3, discuss the current players from a game theory perspective, cluster them into power segmentation, and try to understand who may be shaping the future of NFTs. Very often we hear the sentence, "We're so early." The sentence is also almost turning into a meme in the NFT community, and it can occasionally feel quite frustrating. It's being used as a universal justification, like a teenager telling their parents they haven't cleaned their room because they're just too early in their days. The excuse can feel irritating, and there is a conceptual problem with it too. We're early for what? If you're a day trader, we're not early at all. If you are sweeping NFTs, we are aggregators, OpenSea, Pro, Blur, Jam XYZ, any of those, we're not early either. So what are we actually early for? Well, hold that thought, we'll return to it later. So for me, it really feels like we're standing at a crossroads right now. After an extreme hype cycle, many people seem to have left the space, or at least feel very disillusioned. Some artists left with burned out, some with empty wallets, some project founders left with full pockets and pivoted into meme coins. Some are still building, and a few are still trying to hang in there. The initial ideas that drew me into NFTs were democratization, the artist empowerment. Most of it is right now getting lost in the whirlwind of technological complexities, and let's call it by its name, capitalistic degen hunger. The fundamental understanding of art, blockchain, and tech that once felt thrilling now feels like hurdles to jump over. Welcome. The path has become foggy, and for outsiders looking into our world, I don't think it looks very intriguing or inviting either. The acronym NFT is socially split in at least two positions in our society, like many other things as well. On the one hand, I see a murky fog of confusion and skepticism. Where is this value? Is this just a Ponzi scheme? Why do we need NFTs, they ask. All these questions we have mostly not been able to answer for the last years. Yes, they are boring, but yes, they are still very valid questions. On the other hand, there are people like me who still try to see digital identity, artistic empowerment, transparent provenance, decentralized ownership, generally decentralized data. And I'm sure most of you would like to add other aspects there as well. It's true that the landscape is changing in this bear market, somehow drastically. As you can see, the transaction volume and the unique wallet trading in NFTs is quite low. And now big corporations are entering the game, although some like Meta or Instagram have already left again. And most people are very excited about this, brands entering NFTs in Web3. It seems like it's the last hope of clearing this wild, wild west from all the negative aspects. Brands like Nike, Adidas, Starbucks, Louis Vuitton, MoonPay, buying NFTs here and there. Every major fashion brand has an NFT strategy, and maybe even BlackRock might be buying some NFTs in the future. Being involved in crypto since 2017 and immersed in NFTs since 2020, and launching Germany's first NFT launchpad, Every NFT in 21, there is a question persistently in my mind. What are we actually doing? Who are these NFTs benefiting? What are they actually achieving more than crowdfunding with a transaction proof on the blockchain? Certainly, I could delve into the multitude of issues surrounding NFTs and why most of them go to zero. I could talk about how bots like NFT Zensai or Zeta enabled auto-minting with hundreds of wallets that you can auto-generate, or on how NFTs became the next airdrop hunt or the next farming activity on Blur. I could talk about Blur all day, actually, and how Blur might have ruined NFTs, but not only from the financial aspect, thanks to the Blur token hunt or NFT lending, but especially by disgrading the human engagement in purchasing experience of art. Personal taste, the value of provenance, and any emotional attachment, all the things on which the art world has been built have been decreasing to an ultimate low at this point. They were replaced with rarities, trading volume indicators, and NFTs ultimately transformed into, well, purely financial instruments. Don't get me wrong, NFTs don't have to be art at all. They don't have to be PFPs at all. They can have a lot of other aspects, utilities. There are many more use cases for NFTs, but art and the $69 million sale of Beeple opened NFTs to the world as we know. So there was some kind of an expectation formed from the get-go. The question remains for me, how can we onboard 1 billion people with these conditions? The promise that the Web3 community always has. Do we even want to? And where is this all heading? If I told you, in this rush for riches, we're losing the very essence of what makes art, and that NFTs shouldn't become just another asset class, but a blend of creativity and technology, a new frontier for artistic expression and cultural exchange, I expect that some of you, and maybe all, disagree. Some of you might even be happy with the status quo, and principally might not be distracted by this hyper-capitalistic game of attention that we're playing. I understand. But ultimately, it comes down to this question: who are you in this complex world of NFTs? To figure this out, it's invaluable to view this entire scenario through a specific lens, the lens of game theory. Game theory, in very simple terms, is a way to understand strategic solutions or situations. It's like a chess game where each player's strategy depends on what they think their opponent will do. The same applies to NFTs, where different stakeholders, from artists, collectors, investors, influencers, all play different roles with distinct strategies. With game theory, we identify and understand the main players in the NFT landscape. It helps us to discern where we might be heading and how we can possibly influence this game. The common denominator amongst most is financial incentives. I can say that. But this is our playing field, and the game is running quite fast. Remember, we are so early. Here I agree. We're actually in such nascent stages that the market is still trying to determine power segmentation. Who holds sway? The influencers? Power segmentation might encompass factors such as control over resources, decision-making authority, influence over others, and the ability to shape norms and expectations. Undeniably, power dynamics can be quite difficult to measure, with entities possessing different types of power segmentation, of power, or influence in different or parts of the system. However, a power segmentation could still offer a very useful high-level view of the key power dynamics within the Web3 ecosystem. So at CLOCKKNOCK, my creative studio, which is now also offering Web3 services, we tried to figure this out, and we started creating categories to cluster all the different players. Content creators, the lifeblood of NFT space, demand-side actors, these are the end consumers who desire to purchase and use NFTs, supply-side actors who generate and supply NFTs to the market, gatekeepers, application-specific players, bad actors, all the scammers and criminals you may have heard of, regulatory bodies and government, and of course, the Web 2 power, the incumbent tech giants and how they may influence the NFT space. After assessing these entities into categories, we have something that resembles the structure of our Web3 community right now. Although this picture is still incomplete, it serves to illustrate who's involved in shaping this intricate web of NFTs. Remember here, our goal is actually to understand the power segmentation. The goal to understand it goes over who has the change-making authority, and the ability to shape norms on a global scale. Our segmentation leads us to this visualization that helps in answering these questions. And of course, here it becomes slightly subjective, and the edges become quite soft sometimes. Certainly some decisions here we argued in our team, and they may differ from perspective. Wherever I see the intersection between decision-making and global norm shaper, I think we gain a glimpse into where the future of NFTs might reside. Let's filter the noise, and we see, when we refine our scope, that the capacity to bring about a single significant change comes predominantly from financial institutions. Global brands, for example, like Apple could do this. Gaming, powerhouses like Sony or Rockstar Games. Capital from VCs, hedge funds, institutional investors, and they also hold a very strong say. And traditional big tech and Web2 companies with their immense user base can make a colossal impact too, giving governmental bodies enable us with the regulation. Now, NFTs do not need any of this. They can keep existing as a small niche where some of you buy and sell and hold because they like the art and the artists. But if NFTs are breaking out from this niche and they want to impact on a global scale, these are the entities that may hold the key. But this comes with a critical question. How does this fundamentally change, or how does this fundamental change actually align with the ethos of artists, the original pioneers of NFTs? And more importantly, how different is this status actually from the status quo? Here's me to destroy your Web3 enthusiasm. It's not changing the system at all. It's only adding own in a new way. Are we truly breaking free from the structures that bind us, or are we simply seeing the same system replicated in a new world? Yes, global brands are finding fresh avenues to ply their wares, creating assets that I and you can claim that it's ours. We can buy them, we can trade them, and yes, on paper, we own them, maybe even the IP or parts of the IP, but their ownership exists within a framework which is clearly a very capitalistic structure that is built top-down. Does this change anything of the status quo? Are we really truly owners when the rules of the game are still dictated by the same powerful entities we know from Web 2? Should we really cheer for all the big brands entering this space and occupying it with their marketing machines? I will leave you with all of these complex questions. I'm not going to be able to answer them. But I also want to give you a little hope. We're so early. You still have time to make your impact and ensure that the openness and democratization that underpin Web3 technologies remain intact as they grow and become more mainstream. Thank you very much.